They watch you long before you ever realize you're being observed, measuring the cracks in your discipline, waiting for the moment you slip, because the world is engineered to test an unshaped man and exploit the ones who haven't mastered themselves. They study your impulses, your reactions, your doubts, the soft spots where your emotions override your judgment. And this is where most men lose the game before it even begins. But not you, not anymore, because self-mastery starts with understanding the cold truth. No one will hand you respect. You must carve it from stone with your own hands. You're stepping into a world where the weak cling to comfort, but you are going to be the one who strips comfort away and uses the pressure to forge an unbreakable mind. You will not be driven by emotion. You will use emotion as fuel. You will not be ruled by fear. You will weaponize clarity. They expect you to react like everyone else, but you're about to become the one man who doesn't flinch, doesn't beg, doesn't bend. And as you stand in that silent mental space, I want you to comment this phrase to anchor it into your psychology. My mind obeys me alone. Because that's where your rise begins, when your thoughts stop running wild and start marching in formation under your command. You will become the watcher of your own instincts, the sculptor of your own behavior, the strategist of your own evolution. And as you reshape yourself, they won't know what changed. They'll only feel the shift, the pressure, the presence of someone who has stepped out of the ordinary. But mastery doesn't end here. This is only the first fracture in your old identity, and as the darkness of truth opens into the next layer of power, follow me deeper, because the path ahead exposes the mind behind the mask, and that is where the real transformation begins. They fear the man who commands his mind. They fear the man who commands his mind, because once your inner world bends to your will, the outer world loses its grip on you completely. Most people are prisoners of their emotions, rage, jealousy, insecurity, desire, and they cling to these chains like they're decorations instead of shackles. But you're learning to treat your mind like a kingdom, and a kingdom demands a ruler, not chaos. When a thought rises to sabotage you, you interrogate it. When an emotion tries to hijack your decisions, you freeze it in place and study it with surgical detachment. That's the Machiavellian edge, not cruelty, but clarity, not manipulation, but mastery over your own impulses so no one else can manipulate them. Because understand this, the man who overreacts becomes predictable, and the predictable become controllable. But when you respond slowly, deliberately, strategically, your presence becomes a question no one can answer. They'll feel it when they speak to you, the calm weight in your voice, the stillness in your expression, the absence of emotional leakage. It unsettles them because it means you're operating from strength, not desperation. And the moment you stop seeking approval, the moment you stop explaining yourself, the moment you stop giving people access to your emotional switches, they start treating you differently. They sense the shift, the rise, the power settling behind your eyes. So lock this in by commenting, "I command my inner kingdom." Say it so your mind recognizes the crown on its throne. Because your self-control becomes your shield, your discipline becomes your strategy, and your silence becomes your advantage. And as this foundation hardens beneath your feet, you're ready for the next truth, the truth about pressure, tests, and the subtle psychological games that people will play once they realize they can't read you anymore. Step with me into that darkness, because what comes next is where your power sharpens into a weapon. Power reveals itself in pressure. Pressure exposes a man faster than words ever could. And those around you will test you in subtle ways just to see what leaks out when life squeezes your mind. Some will push your patience to measure your weakness. Others will provoke you to harvest your reactions, because reactions are currency to the manipulative. But you are not here to react. You're here to observe, to read intentions behind smiles, tones, and silence with the precision of a cold strategist. When someone tries to trigger you, you don't answer their emotion, you answer their intent. You respond with the calmness that terrifies those who expect you to explode. This is dark psychology at its purest, understanding that every person is either trying to extract something from you or protect something from you. And you, mastering yourself, refuse to be a source of emotional supply for anyone. You maintain your stillness, your neutrality, your focused stare that warns, "I see more than you think." That alone disrupts their entire plan. Manipulators suffocate when they can't predict your moves. Weak men panic when they can't provoke you. And those who once controlled you with guilt, pressure, or chaos suddenly find themselves powerless. This is why patience isn't passive. Patience is dominance in slow motion. Hold your ground, hold your tone, hold your energy. Let your silence make them uncomfortable enough to reveal themselves. And anchor this into your mind by commenting, "My reactions serve my power." Because every moment you refuse to be emotionally hijacked, you strip another layer of control from the world around you. This is the turning point. You stop being a participant in other people's games and start becoming the one who dictates the rules. And now that you've learned to remain unshaken under pressure, it's time to enter the next chamber of transformation, the one where you confront your own shadows and turn your inner weaknesses into weapons. The war inside you is the only one that matters. The truth is brutal. Most men are defeated long before life ever gets a chance to challenge them, because the enemy living inside their own mind attacks faster and more viciously than anything outside. You know the voice I'm talking about, the one that whispers doubt when you need certainty, the one that feeds fear when you need discipline, the one that drags you backward every time you're ready to rise. That voice is not your companion, it's your first opponent. And mastering yourself requires a cold willingness to confront it without sympathy. Weakness doesn't disappear when you ignore it, it grows in the dark. But when you drag it into the light and dissect it like a surgeon, you discover its power was only an illusion. You stop asking, "Why am I like this?" and begin declaring, "This ends now." The Machiavellian truth is that you can't rule anything externally until you've conquered the rebellion within. That means killing old habits with precision, not mercy. It means stripping away excuses like armor that no longer fits. It means recognizing that comfort is the silent poison designed to keep you average. And you're not here to be average, you're here to become untouchable. When you hold yourself accountable with ruthless honesty, you evolve faster than anyone around you can understand. They'll think it's confidence, they'll think it's luck, they'll think it's arrogance. But you'll know it's the quiet aftermath of a man who has finally stopped betraying himself. Seal this shift into your identity by commenting, "I destroy the weakness within." Because once the inner enemy dies, the outer world becomes effortless to dominate. And now that your inner battlefield has been cleared, the transformation deepens. Because the next phase is where you learn to project power without speaking, to influence without forcing, and to command respect through presence alone. Power speaks loudest when you say nothing. True strength doesn't roar, it radiates. The most dominant men in history understood this. Your presence should enter a room before your voice does, and your silence should carry more weight than the noise others hide behind. When you master yourself, your energy changes, your posture, your eyes, your stillness. They all communicate a language that people instinctively understand. This is cold power psychology. When you stop seeking to impress, you become the one they want to impress. When you stop needing attention, you become the one they can't ignore. And when you no longer display insecurity, people feel uneasy because you've given them nothing to measure, nothing to attack, nothing to control. Your calm becomes a mirror that exposes their chaos. Your neutrality becomes a test they can't pass. Your silence forces them to reveal more than they intended. This is why the man who speaks less gains more. More authority, more respect, more leverage in every interaction. You don't need to prove your intelligence. Your restraint proves it for you. You don't need to announce your intentions. Your unpredictability protects them, and you don't need to raise your voice. People listen because they feel the weight behind every word you choose to release. Anchor this mindset into your identity by commenting, "My silence is my power." Because the moment you stop chasing validation, You begin to command attention without begging for it. Understand this. People subconsciously evaluate you based on how much control you have over yourself, not how much control you claim to have over others. Mastering the art of silent power makes you impossible to manipulate and difficult to forget. And now that your presence has sharpened into a weapon, you're ready for the next step, a darker step, where influence is earned not through what you show, but through what you hide. Control the information, and you control the outcome. In a world addicted to oversharing, the man who reveals nothing becomes a psychological anomaly. Impossible to decipher, difficult to predict, and dangerous to underestimate. People judge you not by who you are, but by what you expose, and the less you expose, the more they're forced to guess. Guessing breeds uncertainty. Uncertainty breeds caution, and caution gives you the advantage. This is Machiavellian strategy at its core. Protect your intentions like a king protects his throne. When you stop broadcasting your weaknesses, your plans, your emotions, and your insecurities, you cut off every route that others could use to influence you. Those who once fed on your openness will suffocate when you become a closed system. The less they know, the less they can use. The less you react, the less they can read. The less you speak, the more they reveal just to fill the silence. That's the beauty of psychological opacity. Your quiet becomes their confession booth. And the truth is, people expose themselves endlessly because they're desperate to be understood, while the self-mastered man understands that being misunderstood is a fortress. When your motivations stay hidden, others trip over their own assumptions trying to figure you out. They project their fears, their desires, their insecurities onto you, giving you insight they never intended to share. This is how you shift from the observed to the observer. This is how you control rooms without lifting a finger. And to cement this power into your identity, comment this phrase: "No one reads me unless I allow it." Because once you embrace strategic concealment, you become untouchable, not by force, but by mystery. Now that your inner world is locked behind an iron door, it's time to go deeper still, into the realm where power isn't just held, it's reborn. Rebirth begins where your former self dies. There comes a moment in every man's evolution where he must confront the most terrifying truth of all. Who you used to be cannot walk with you into who you are becoming. Your old habits, your old identity, your old fears, they cling to you like dead weight, whispering comfort, begging you to stay small because small is predictable and predictable is safe. But safety is the enemy of transformation. The Machiavellian path demands a psychological death, an intentional execution of the version of you that accepted less, tolerated disrespect, hesitated, apologized for existing, and allowed others to define your worth. That version served its purpose, but it's not equipped for the life you're building now. Reinvention is a violent process. It rips away the narratives you inherited and forces you to write your own. Most men never do this because they fear the emptiness between who they were and who they must become. But you walk straight into that void, knowing it's the birthplace of power. When you shed your old self, people around you will panic. They'll accuse you of changing, as if staying the same was ever an option. They'll try to drag you back to the man they could manipulate because your evolution threatens their comfort. Let them talk. Let them choke on their own nostalgia. Your transformation is not for their approval. It is for your ascension. If the old you would have broken, the new you endures. If the old you would have chased, the new you withdraws. If the old you would have hesitated, the new you strikes. Mark this turning point by commenting, "I rise from my old self." Because once you commit to rebirth, you move through the world with a different gravity, one that bends the environment around you instead of bending to it. And from here, your evolution only accelerates, carrying you into the cold clarity of strategic detachment. Detachment is the throne from which true power rules. Most people live chained to the expectations, opinions, and emotional storms of others, spending their entire lives reacting, adjusting, and shrinking themselves to maintain peace in a world that was never designed to give it. But a man who masters himself learns a colder, higher truth. You don't gain power by controlling others. You gain power by refusing to let others control you. Detachment isn't apathy, it's strategy. It's the art of stepping out of emotional trenches and into psychological high ground, where you can see every angle, every motive, every lie, every manipulation with terrifying clarity. When you detach, you stop playing the games people set for you, the guilt traps, the mind games, the approval quests, the emotional bait they dangle to pull you where they want you. You rise above it, observing it like a tactician watching pieces on a board. This is where dark psychology becomes an ally, not a weapon. You learn to read emotional currents without drowning in them. You learn to respond without reacting. You learn to walk away without explaining, without apologizing, without negotiating your worth. And the moment you stop needing the world starts chasing you. Because here's the secret they never want you to know. The person who cares less holds the power. The person who is willing to walk away controls the dynamic. The person who doesn't beg for understanding becomes the one others seek to understand. When your attention becomes selective, people try to earn it. When your silence grows meaningful, people try to decode it. And when your presence is no longer freely available, it becomes valuable. That is the psychological economy of power. Scarcity shapes influence. Detachment sharpens it. When you stop being emotionally available to people who drain you, they lose their leverage. When you stop explaining your decisions, manipulators lose their entry points. When you stop responding to provocations, insecure people lose their sense of superiority. And when you stop chasing validation, the entire world shifts in your favor. Understand this deeply. Detachment does not mean you feel nothing. It means nothing controls what you feel. You still care, but you choose where to direct that care. You still love, but you draw boundaries around that love. You still feel emotion, but emotion does not drive your actions. This is the cold, stoic edge that turns a man from reactive to sovereign. You become the one who listens but doesn't absorb, who observes but doesn't inherit, who understands but doesn't bend. People will call you emotionless, arrogant, distant, or selfish. But these are the cries of those who benefited from your lack of boundaries. They fear the version of you who no longer bends at their convenience. They resent the version of you who no longer bleeds on command. But that resentment is proof. Detachment is working. When you detach, you start choosing your battles with surgical precision. You stop fighting for people who wouldn't lift a finger for you. You stop investing in situations that drain your spirit. You stop proving your worth to those who can't recognize it. Instead, you redirect that energy inward into growth, discipline, mastery. You reclaim the power you gave away through desperation, insecurity, and fear. And slowly, something extraordinary happens. Calm becomes your default. Decisions become easy. Boundaries become natural. Confidence becomes quiet. And your presence becomes heavier, more compelling, more respected, more untouchable. This level of detachment doesn't just elevate you above petty conflicts. It transforms how others perceive you entirely. People sense they cannot push you. They sense they cannot guilt you. They sense they cannot play you. And that sense reshapes their behavior, even if they don't admit it. Those who once manipulated you will retreat. Those who once underestimated you will reassess. Those who once took you for granted will feel your absence like a void in their chest. And those who truly value you will rise to meet the standard you've set. Detachment reveals who belongs in your life and who was merely using it as a place to hide. Lock this evolution into your identity by commenting, "My detachment is my dominance." Because once you grasp this truth, not emotionally but instinctively, you become the kind of man who moves through the world untouched by chaos, unfazed by pressure, unmoved by noise. You step out of the role of the controlled and into the role of the controller, not through force, but through freedom. And now that you've detached from the games others play, you're ready for the next stage where the world begins to whisper your name, not because you need their approval, but because your presence rewrites the rules of the room. Respect begins the moment your worth no longer seeks permission. There comes a shift in a man's life when he stops looking outward for validation and begins generating value from within. It doesn't happen loudly. It doesn't happen with fireworks or applause. It happens in the quiet moments when you finally realize that every person you once tried to impress was too busy trying to impress someone else, that every opinion you chased was coming from people who hadn't mastered themselves, that the approval you begged for was built on a foundation of insecurity, not truth. The day you stop needing that approval is the day your rise becomes inevitable. Because when a man no longer requires acceptance, he becomes someone others feel compelled to accept. When a man no longer asks to be respected, he becomes the one others subconsciously respect. This is the paradox of masculine power. When your self-worth becomes self-issued, the world adjusts around you. People start speaking to you differently. They measure their words. They hold your gaze longer, searching for cues that you no longer give away. And in their uncertainty, they begin to elevate you without even realizing it. You see, independence has a gravity to it. When you don't cling, you attract. When you don't seek approval, you unsettle those who depend on being validated. When you stop playing the social compliance game, those still trapped in it don't know how to engage with you. They become careful, they become respectful, they become quieter in your presence, because a man who doesn't need their acceptance becomes unpredictable. And unpredictability commands respect. This is where the Machiavellian edge sharpens. When people can't influence your sense of self, they instinctively place you above them in the social hierarchy. They may not say it, but they feel it. Your independence becomes a silent crown. And here's the darker truth. When you stop caring about approval, the same people who overlooked you suddenly begin to watch you. They whisper your name because mystery breeds fascination. They analyze your choices because detachment breeds authority. They mirror your behavior because confidence breeds imitation. The world begins to orbit around you in subtle, psychological ways, all because you are no longer orbiting around anyone else. This is why being self-sourced is the highest form of power a man can possess. It means your emotions are yours. Your standards are yours. Your destiny is yours. You are no longer waiting for someone to open a door. You build your own. And as your energy transforms, people reveal themselves with brutal clarity. Those who were only around for your compliance will fade because they can't feed on someone who no longer bends. Those who were attracted to your weakness will flee because your strength reminds them of their own failures. Those who envied you will grow quiet because your rise exposes their stagnation. And those who truly value you will step forward, not because you asked them to, but because your presence demands alignment. This is the purification effect of independence. Your life begins to filter itself. The wrong people fall away without effort. The right people stay without force. But here's where mastery goes deeper. When you no longer need approval, you also stop giving it recklessly. You stop pouring energy into people who haven't earned it. You stop giving attention to situations that don't match your purpose. You stop validating behaviors that don't align with your identity. Your presence becomes a standard others must meet, not an offering you hand out freely. And that shift becomes magnetic. Women feel it, men notice it, competitors sense it, even strangers respond to it. Your energy becomes a quiet storm, controlled, contained, but undeniably powerful. And through this transformation, one truth becomes clear. Being alone no longer scares you, it empowers you. Because solitude is not isolation. Solitude is sovereignty. It's the space where you build, sharpen, evolve, and strategize without interference. It's where you realize that the world respects a man who respects himself enough to stand alone. And when you return from that solitude, people feel the difference immediately. Your eyes change, your posture changes, your decisions sharpen, your tolerance disappears. You become a man defined not by what others think, but by what you know about yourself. Anchor this identity into your mind by commenting, My worth comes from within, because once you embody this truth, not in words but in energy, you rise into the rarest category of men, the ones who walk into a room without competing, yet everyone feels their presence, the ones who speak without shouting, yet everyone listens, the ones who move alone, yet never move unnoticed. And now that the world has begun to whisper your name, you're ready for the final ascension, the moment where all the power you've forged crystallizes into something untouchable. Untouchability is not a status, it is a state of being. Untouchability is not a crown handed to you by the world. It is a throne you build inside your mind, brick by brick, through every battle you fight alone, every demon you silence, every weakness you confront with a cold and merciless stare. It is the final stage of mastery, the point at which your spirit no longer bends to storms, your emotions no longer betray you, and your past no longer weighs on your steps. Becoming untouchable is not about arrogance, it is about independence so complete that nothing external can command your internal world. You reach this state when you stop negotiating your worth, stop lowering your standards, stop diluting your identity for the comfort of others. A man becomes untouchable when he rises beyond the reach of emotional manipulation, when his boundaries become gates that only the deserving may walk through, and when his purpose burns hotter than any distraction the world can throw at him. This transformation does not happen overnight. It forms slowly, forged through the collisions of pain and patience, pressure and discipline. At first, you'll notice subtle shifts. Conversations that once bothered you now roll off your mind like water on armor. People who once influenced your choices now feel small and distant. Environments that once drained your energy no longer affect your emotional climate. The noise around you begins to fade, and for the first time, you hear the unmistakable sound of your own voice. Steady, powerful, unshaken. Untouchability deepens when you stop fearing isolation and start valuing solitude. The world tries to convince you that being alone is a sign of failure, but in truth, solitude is the birthplace of every transformation that matters. In the quiet, you face your shadows without distraction. In the quiet, you sharpen your standards without apology. In the quiet, you meet the man you were always meant to become. This is where your emotional sovereignty takes shape, when you realize you don't need constant company, external validation, or attention to feel significant. You start to understand that peace is not given. It is earned through the discipline of choosing where your energy flows and where it doesn't. And once you learn to guard your energy like a fortress, you stop letting others drain you with their chaos, their insecurity, and their expectations. Your presence becomes selective, and with that selectivity comes a new psychological gravity. People feel it when you walk into a room, the quiet confidence, the unspoken power, the mastery simmering beneath your calm exterior. You don't try to impress anyone, you don't chase approval, you don't fight for validation. And because of that, ironically, you become the one they watch the hardest. You become the one whose silence draws more attention than other men's shouting. You become the one whose decisions carry weight even when you don't explain them. A man who needs nothing gains everything: respect, curiosity, influence, authority, because his self-sufficiency exposes everyone else's dependence. Untouchability is also born from a ruthless internal honesty. You stop lying to yourself about who you are and who you must become. You recognize your patterns, your flaws, your triggers, your weaknesses, not to shame yourself, but to kill the version of you that held you back. This kills the need for external approval because validation becomes internal, sourced from discipline rather than applause. When a man becomes brutally self-aware, something extraordinary happens. Other people's opinions lose their power over him. You understand that judgment is nothing but projection. Criticism is nothing but insecurity in disguise. Mockery is nothing but fear wearing a smirk. And suddenly, the words that once pierced your confidence now feel meaningless, like whispers against steel. You stop reacting to insults. You stop explaining your choices. You stop seeking acceptance from people who have no authority over your destiny. This is psychological liberation. The moment external noise becomes irrelevant because your internal world is fortified, and as you transform, the world responds in ways you may not expect. People who once looked down on you begin to look up. People who once took advantage of you become careful with their words. People who once ignored you now observe you with curiosity, wondering when the shift happened, when your posture grew firmer, when your gaze sharpened, when your presence became heavier and harder to overlook. Some will admire you, some will envy you, some will resent you, and some will fear you, but few will ever forget you. Because untouchability leaves a mark. It disrupts the psychological balance of those who interact with you. It forces people to face their own weaknesses in the presence of your strength. And while some will rise to meet your elevated standards, others will disappear entirely, unable to stand in the light of your evolution. This is not loss, it is alignment. The wrong ones fall away when you stop dimming your power. True untouchability is also tied to your purpose. When a man has a mission that consumes him, he stops being swayed by temptation, distraction, and emotional bait. He no longer feels the need to be understood, supported, or encouraged. He becomes self-propelling. While others drown in trivial pursuits, he moves with direction. While others chase pleasure, he chases progress. While others seek comfort, he seeks challenge. Purpose turns a man from reactive to unstoppable. Every setback becomes fuel. Every doubt becomes noise. Every obstacle becomes an opportunity to grow sharper, wiser, colder, more refined. And when you finally understand that your purpose is not up for negotiation, you become immune to anyone who tries to pull you away from it. Untouchability is forged through discipline. The discipline to say no when your past self would have said yes. The discipline to walk away when your old self would have stayed. The discipline to remain calm when others try to provoke chaos. The discipline to continue rising when life offers you every excuse to stay still. You understand that mastery is built on consistency, not emotion. That progress is fueled by commitment, not motivation. That strength is shaped by endurance, not comfort. And those who watch your rise will either admire your discipline or be threatened by it. But you do not move for their approval. You move because your evolution is non-negotiable. As your transformation completes itself, you begin to embody a rare form of confidence, not loud, not boastful, not dramatic, but deep and immovable. It is the kind of confidence that speaks through your presence long before your words arrive. Your eyes no longer dart, they assess. Your voice no longer trembles, it commands. Your energy no longer wavers, it anchors entire rooms. You no longer seek opportunities, you attract them. You no longer ask for respect, you generate it through your actions, your silence, your standards. And the most powerful part, you do not need to prove any of it, because an untouchable man knows exactly who he is, exactly what he wants, and exactly what he'll never tolerate again. This kind of certainty is lethal to insecurity, irresistible to strength, and incomprehensible to the weak. Now, as the final line of your transformation is drawn, anchor the identity you fought to earn. Speak it, write it, claim it. I am untouchable by anything that once controlled me. Let this be the seal of the man you've become. And if this ascension awakened something in you, if it reshaped your mindset, sharpened your edge, or reminded you of the power you carry, then make sure you like, subscribe, and turn on notifications, because your evolution is only beginning.